These are the plaintiffs, Elizabeth Parks and James Fanning. Elizabeth says they rented a house from the defendant and they became fast friends. Everything was great. That is until the sheriff knocked on their door one day and informed them they were being evicted. The defendant turned out to be nothing more than a mean old man who evicted her family of 6 with only 24 hours to get out, and that's not right. They're suing for $800, the money they're owed for their unreturned security deposit. This is the defendant, Julian Perez Lambert. He says the plaintiffs always had trouble paying him the rent they owed. We're always behind on rent, and after a few months of getting nothing but a runaround, he told them they had to leave. When he finally got them out, he was horrified to see how they trashed and vandalized his once beautiful home. Oh, them? Come on. He's accused of flip-flopping on a tenant.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiffs say they became friends with the defendant who they rented from, but that all came to a quick end when there was a knock at the door, and it was the sheriff. The defendant says the plaintiffs were rent scofflaws. It's the case of stick 'em up. You've been sued.
Thank you, Douglas.
Welcome in.
Elizabeth Parks and James Fanning? Yes. Okay, you are suing Julian Perez, how do I pronounce that last name?
Lombard.
For $800 in a security deposit that you believe should be returned to you at the end of your tenancy, which has ended, and that he refuses to return. Tell me what's going on.
We moved into his house at the beginning of July. We quickly became friends when he would come over on a regular basis and invite us to his restaurant to have drinks. We ended up being
What kind of restaurant do you have?
It's a Hispanic, Latin American food.
Okay.
So like I said, we became friends and we liked his house. We were only there for 4 months, but it was a quick friendship. We paid the man every month on the first Friday. I'm not going to say on the first, but the first Friday of every month when my husband would get his check on that Friday, we would pay him the rent. I lost my job in, I want to say September, and he lost his job in October. November came. We came to him when he came to collect the rent on the 1st of November. I let him know that I did not have the money for him, but that I had found out about a program in our county that would help people by paying their rent for 1 month out of the year. I gave him a letter to sign stating...
Do you have that letter?
Yes, I do. And it states on that letter that our rent was paid up until the 31st of October, that it was due in November. And he also, if you look, he signed that paper. So we did pay our rent to him every month until then. He signed that paper, agreed to accept payment from the county for that month, and then 2 weeks later decided that he didn't want to wait for the check from the county.
Well, why should he?
Well, he agreed to it. That's why he should.
No, he agreed to fill out the form so that you could try to solicit funds from the county so that you could pay your rent. But how long is he? It's not like he agreed to a Section 8 rental. Then he signs a contract that you sign and Section 8 signs. And then he is bound by Section 8 rules because he knows he's getting money for sure for a whole year from Section 8. The first caption here in caps and bold says, this completion of this form doesn't guarantee payment. So this is kind of different. I'm going to ask a government agency, to see if they'll help me with rent. Can you help me by signing that so that you can prove that I really do pay rent to you and how much your rent is? And so he fills out this form, and then apparently changes his mind because he's now waited
2 weeks.
And he doesn't want to wait anymore. His rent was due 2 weeks ago and he has a mortgage and he wants to pay it and whatever else. All right. So what happens? What happens in the 2 weeks?
2 weeks later, a sheriff shows up at our door with the papers from him saying that he is suing us for eviction.
Non-payment of rent and eviction.
Yeah, okay. Non-payment of rent.
Right. And then what happens?
We go down and we file a motion with the judge asking them, showing them that letter and that we had gotten accepted. That
Did they pay him?
No, because once we got this, I took it down to the county and showed them that, hey, don't give him that check. He's evicted.
Actually, ironically, had they sent him the check and he cashed it, the eviction gets dismissed.
Well, I know that now.
Yeah. Because if a landlord is suing for eviction and they accept any rent, the case gets dismissed. All right, so go on. In Florida. Okay, so go on.
So about a week and a half after that, we get served with a pink notice on our door that says you have 24 hours to move all your belongings out.
Well, that's kind of quick. That was unusual.
Yeah.
Did you not show up for court?
No, there was no
what you
court
didn't
date.
do is you didn't post the rent in the registry. You just said, I have no money. Your motion that you said, basically, other than saying, hey, somebody else is promising to help us out to pay rent, you didn't. The statute in Florida has a very specific scheme. It expects tenants who want to contest non-payment to say, look, I didn't pay it, but I have a defense. They won't bring an exterminator and it's rat infested. They won't fix a boiler and I have no, well, that's a bad example in Florida. They won't fix the AC and I have no air conditioning. The electricity keeps up because there's some problem in the, whatever. If there's something like that, then you're supposed to post the money that you're not paying him in the registry. When you don't do that, what a judge is supposed to do, if you don't post the money in the registry, you're just saying, I can't afford to live here. Yeah, you got to get out. That's the only time it works that fast.
Right.
And in fact, even then, most judges in Florida don't do what they're supposed to do.
Well,
and
and
because
that's
they
what
feel
I wanted
sorry
to-
for your side and they just don't.
Well, and what I wanted to bring up was our lease actually states that if we don't pay our rent by the 5th, all we do is pay an additional $50 late fee.
No, sweetheart. And then when you don't pay that, and then what? You live there forever?
No, I'm just
Let
saying
me
that-
tell you how rent works. You don't pay, he gets to evict you. You don't put the money in the registry, you got to go.
After how long, though? After the 1st?
Well,
After
how
when?
could you think that when you're not paying rent, you didn't pay rent for November? First of all, you have a 5-day grace period according to your thing.
Right.
And then he can charge you an additional $50.
Right.
Right. And then you don't pay that either, which we're all clear on.
Right.
And then you're surprised that you got an eviction. Of course you got an eviction. All right. Now, according to you, did they pay on time every other time?
The last 3 months, they got it in July, August, and September she lost her job. And then what I did, I gave her an opportunity to work with me in order for her to pay the rent.
You
because
did?
I own a business, yes, ma'am.
You did?
Okay.
And
I worked at his
You
tire
skipped
shop.
that part. My gosh, your landlord employed you when you lost your
Yes, ma'am.
job.
7 days a week for
Yes, ma'am.
$50 a day.
Is that accurate?
ma'am, she was working only the weekends. And I was giving her $200 for the weekend so that she
Did you
can.
pay her on the books or under the table?
Under the
It was
table.
cash pay under the table.
You didn't
cash
pay me any cash.
It was
He
cash
didn't
pay.
pay me. When did you give
What
me
did
cash?
deduct? He means that he deducted.
didn't
You
pay
weren't
me
on the
any
books.
cash.
Lady. Don't talk to him directly. He means that he didn't actually hand you a paycheck with a W, whatever, and yada,
Right.
yada. Right.
Okay.
None of his employees.
Yeah. Didn't pay taxes.
None of his
Yeah, what I did, Judge,
Not you.
I put her on the weekends basis so that I can help her paying the rent because
Why did that whatever arrangement it was, why did it stop?
because her husband keep coming to the job 3 or 4 times during the time that she was working there, and I was very polite to hear you, and finally I told her, I said, you got to let him know that he cannot continue to come to the job because it's a policy of the company that the husbands and the wife cannot visit here.
Well, that didn't make sense.
So
It's a restaurant?
No, she was working in my tire store. I was in a
Tire
restaurant and a tire store.
Okay.
And well, the next, when she finished working on Sunday, and the next week she didn't show up.
Okay. Did she
So-
tell you, I don't want to work here?
Not at all, not one
She
word.
just didn't show up.
Not one word. When I asked her why she quit, she said that she thought I didn't need her anymore.
Okay, let's just get to it. Are Section 8 tenants more difficult than tenants who pay full rent?
I would say so, yes.
Why do you say?
Just because they're forced to be there and they get money from the government, so.
But why does that make them worse tenants?
They're not necessarily. It depends on the person.
It does depend on the person, but I'm asking generally. Do you think, who else? I'm going way in the back. What do you think?
I don't think there's as difficult. It just really depends, but a lot of them I've seen kind of use the system.
Okay, fair enough. It's kind of touchy going inside the courtroom.
So now, how much security deposit was there?
Ma'am, if you see the list right there, it's bluntly clear, unrefutable. And the paperwork that she wrote to the court is bluntly unrefutable. She wrote here on the letter that she answered to the court when the court gave her the opportunity to pay the rent, and she wrote this. I pay every month the rent except November.
Right. So how
So-
much? What's the rent for November? $800?
$800. She gave me in the beginning, first and last month, she got the list, it's right there. Is it clear? It's clear. And the list say first and last month, no deposit.
I don't understand. When did you move out?
The end of November.
So you know you didn't pay November rent. You know nobody else paid November rent. Why would you think you're getting a security deposit back?
To a rebuttal to his statement, the lease says it's a security deposit, not last month's rent.
Do you understand that when you don't pay rent, that is a damage that a landlord can use a security deposit.
And I understand that. I feel like that if he already talked to the county came and inspected his house, which he failed, and they did everything for him. That he was getting the check. He agreed that he would wait. He came to our house numerous times.
The next month.
And the reason I quit his tire shop, and I came to him that Friday, still worked 2 more days for him, and told him, Augustine, I have a job. I just graduated school for medical assisting. I found a job. I will not be working up here anymore. That's what I told him.
Okay.
So my rent would have been paid the next month because I had a job. I'm making $200 a day now doing mobile clinics. So I mean, his house is obsolete to me now. I mean, I don't need it. I want my money because I think he owes me my money.
Because what? Because you paid November rent?
No, because he was going to get the check from the county.
It doesn't matter. Did you understand? You seem to think that just because you feel like having him wait for the government to issue a check, he has to. He doesn't. He didn't even have to sign that form.
You're right.
And he could sign this form and then change his mind the next day. Or he could sign the form, wait a week, wait 2 weeks, and then change his mind after 2 weeks. Or after 7 days, or after 3 weeks. He can do that.
But when
We're done. Stop talking. You don't get the security deposit back. Verdict for the defendant.
Thank you, Judge.
Plaintiff right here out of the courtroom, step in here. You understand the judge's ruling?
I do. I don't necessarily agree. There was a lot more that I wish I could have said. I have a whole folder here of different businesses that he opens and closes. He's a scam artist. That's what he is. That's what he'll always be. He argued with us the fact for months that his house wasn't in foreclosure, yet he admits it to the judge now. I mean...
Okay, you still have to pay your rent.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. People fall on hard times. We asked for assistance for 1 month. It's not like there was an everyday occasion. He signed the paper saying we paid every month, but the one.
Okay. Good luck with the job.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So step on in here, and what's your take on this?
Well, people like this are unfit for society because they did not only pay, but they vandalized my house. What they don't know is that when they hit Florida right now, they're waiting for an arrest warrant because I have a witness that already filed a statement, and they vandalized absolutely my house thoroughly, and it's a sentimental property. And what they don't know is that they're waiting for an arrest warrant as soon as they get to Tampa, Florida.
On what charge?
Vandalize. They vandalized.
Vandalism?
Yeah, vandalism. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Harvey?
So here's the thing. It doesn't matter what your excuse is. When you sign a lease saying you will pay rent on a certain day, you have to pay. Their excuses don't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to pay. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.